Hey, all my Leos, welcome to my channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to run through the highlights of 2025 month by month for you. This is specifically for Leo rising. If you don't know your rising sign, you can go to any one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your exact time, location, and obviously date of birth to determine that information. The reason it's important is because the houses that are going to be highlighted this year are going to be pretty significant. And if you are a Leo sun, it does not necessarily relate the same way as the rising sign dictates the landscape of the chart. So let's just jump right in with January because it starts with the karmic nodes changing from the Libra Aries axis into the Pisces Virgo axis. Pisces is your eighth house. The eighth house is traditionally a house of great transformation. And for you, it also rules the subconscious, the house of self undoing. It rules the psychology with which we make our decisions that we don't even know we're making because they're so deeply ingrained within us. Now, the North Node in Pisces, your eighth house, is stretching for a new experience. And I think this is to feel your power, to feel your sense of control because of your connection to the divine. While the South Node will be in your second house of Virgo. And this is going to give you an opportunity to really reconcile and to extract wisdom from any sort of family history that has held you back and shaped your self-worth through criticism or through a sense of duty to others. Virgo is a very it's a sign that's focused on service to others, and in unfortunately in the human structure it's been sort of morphed into service to other humans, when really it's to be of service to love, to balance, to the universe's natural ebb and flow, and to understand that. So that's going to go on for the next year. And again, Pisces is your eighth house. That's also a house of other people's money. And Virgo is a house where you create money from your own skills. But I think we're focusing in a lot on your self-worth and how it's been shaped. Uranus will move direct in your 10th house of Taurus. You've been experiencing Uranus in your 10th house, really shifting your public status, how people see you. Has a lot to do with the career. Since about 2017, Uranus will move into Gemini, dip its toe into Gemini, and then go back into Taurus for a final stint before it moves into Gemini for the next 7 years. Now we see also Venus, Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node are all conjunct in Pisces. This is Venus is exalted in Pisces. Saturn has been transiting Pisces for the last little over a year, really asking us to anchor in a sense of structure with our creativity, with our sense of divinity, with our connection to spirit, and also to be mindful of where we escape, where we run and we hide from our greatness. Again, this is your eighth house of other people's money. There will be a concentration of planets in this house for quite some time. Venus will spend at least 4 months in Pisces, where she is exalted because she's going to retrograde. Now, in February, Jupiter will move direct in Gemini. Gemini is your 11th house of friendships, of the house of your social networks, of your innovation, your future, your the 2.0 version of what you want. It's also a house that matures over time. So as Jupiter moves direct in Gemini, you have an opportunity to truly expand not only your networks, but also to be aware of your communication and how you express yourself. Jupiter is in detriment in Gemini, and yet at the same time, Jupiter is expansive and curious wherever it goes because it's a natural world traveler. So here I think that this is an opportunity for Jupiter to be more aware of how to implement those big, broad, abundant, wealthy concepts in the everyday world. And this is going to be through your 11th house, again, of friendships and social networks. Mars will move direct in Cancer, your 12th house of the subconscious, of your soul's ancestry. Cancer is very much a nurturing sign, and Mars is very much an independent warrior. Mars is not necessarily comfortable in Cancer because it has to be more aware of how emotional people really are. Mars can get an idea and just want to charge ahead. And in the 12th house, no less, it's going to have to really kind of go into the spiritual warrior mode and learn how to work from a level of compassion and empathy to others. Sometimes that's not so easy. We see the stellium in Pisces grow with the addition of the sun and the moon, because now we're in Pisces season. So we have the sun, Mercury, Saturn, Venus has dipped its toe. No, Venus is still there. Yeah, Venus is at the very last degrees of Pisces as well. And Neptune in the North Node. Powerful concentration of planets that represent building structure. Saturn, where am I limited and repressed? Saturn, where is authority taking over? Where are my fears taking over? And that's that unconscious, subconscious, couple double whammy there in the 8th house for you, because the 8th house rules that psychology, and Pisces rules the part of you that you can't connect to. It's so deeply ingrained. And then Mercury ruling your mind and how you think and how you speak. Venus ruling your self-worth. The North Node is something you're stretching for. And while Neptune is the ruler of the house, it still can make things sort of blurry and unclear sometimes. So that stellium is going to be very powerful, and it's going to be calling forth transformation. In March, we will see our first eclipse season with the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo. Virgo, again, is your 2nd house. That's a house of your own skills, a house where it's another money house. And when we take the Virgo energy, we're adding work, health, service, and we're adding your daily habits. So you may find that the eclipse brings forth an opportunity to shift your daily habits that are more aligned to the spiritual stellium in your 8th house that's bringing a lot of influence. We will experience the new moon partial solar eclipse in Aries. That will be the last eclipse on the Aries Libra axis. We will see that eclipse bringing forth an opportunity for you to start to implement your own sort of brave ideas about things, but at the same time, there could be a possibility of having to educate yourself in some way. Aries is your 9th house, and that is naturally ruled by Sagittarius. So there's an element of higher education. There's also still the connection to the angelic realm going on here. It's a house of faith. So that will be called forth. And sometimes Leo is as ready as Mars is to move the story forward. We will see Neptune enter Aries, your 9th house. It will dip its toe again, and it's going to start traveling with Saturn quite a bit as they both move into Aries and then dip their toe back into Pisces. Venus and Mercury will both retrograde in Pisces as well. So here, in addition to your mind, this could also bring old situations back with female friends, people who represent financial influence over you. Mercury also represents our teammates, our workmates, our childhood in many ways, children around us. So that could come up. In April, Mercury and Venus will move direct in Pisces and begin joining closer and closer to the Saturn in the North Node and Neptune. And then we see Mars re-enter your 1st house. This is going to be pretty powerful because it's going to put some gas under your grill. It's going to turn up the heat, and it's going to start in opposition with Pluto once again. But this time Pluto's in Aquarius in your 7th house. And this is going to be pretty significant because it's going to bring out a rebel. It's going to bring out a sense of a dynamic sense of wanting freedom from anything that's oppressed you and held you back or made you feel stagnant. So that's going to be very powerful in April. In May, Saturn will enter Aries. This is going to be, for me, a time when Saturn rules government and authority, and Aries rules, the military, war. Saturn has a lot to do with the military as well. So we're going to see an opportunity, I believe, because Neptune is also within orb of Saturn, the peaceful warrior, learning how to take your action from a spiritual point of view versus a reactionary point of view. Now, this isn't always easy because, you're a fixed sign and you are, tend to get into a certain mode of being and you'll stay that way. But if the mode of being is not really working for you because it's that, unconscious imprint of whatever's going on in your Pisces Virgo axis, it's really going to be exasperated by Pluto's transit through your 7th house that isn't just of marriage and partnership, but of peace and harmony and cooperation and give and take. So this is really powerful. Saturn, where'd you go? There, Saturn enters Aries. So as Saturn enters Aries, this is where I'm going. I'm sorry, I got a little sidetracked. I believe that Saturn is welcome in Aries because Mars is exalted in Aries, and it feels reciprocal to me that when Mars is, welcomed in the house of Capricorn, that Mars would then welcome Saturn into the house of Aries. So this is going to be an interesting time to see how that plays out, because again, Aries is your 9th house. And so there's a feeling of wanting to assert yourself, wanting to be free of limitations that don't align to your beliefs or government structures that don't support your growth and your dreams. Pluto will retrograde from 3 degrees to 1 degree in Aquarius until October 2025. This is like, again, a revisit of those first few degrees of your 7th house. And we will see throughout the rest of the year, Mercury and Venus will take their turns again, opposing Pluto and rewriting how you think and how you feel about some things. So we will see Saturn and Neptune conjunct in Aries in June of 2025. Saturn will also make a square to Jupiter, and this is the 3rd time. Jupiter is now direct in Gemini and Saturn is direct in Aries. This is kind of this, we've got contraction and expansion arguing with each other. We've got Aries, the self, and we've got Gemini, the community, the neighborhood, the team. So this could very well bring up some stuff because, again, we're talking about your 9th house and your 11th house. So I'm sorry. Yeah, your 11th house. And this is initially that sounds like it should be a sextile, but there's, in the way that Neptune is in such an early degree and Jupiter's in such a late degree. That's why we're experiencing the square. Just wanted to clarify that. Jupiter will enter its exaltation in Cancer in your 12th house for the next year. This is very fortuitous for expanding your belief system, expanding your spirituality, expanding your creativity, expanding what you want in the way of home, hearth, health, and healing. The last time Jupiter was in Cancer was in 2013 and 2014. I don't know if you'll revisit the exact same dynamics, but there could be an overall theme that you're seeing in your personal life. In July, we will see 3 planets retrograde. First, Mercury will retrograde. First, Neptune will retrograde on the 4th of July until December 10th. This will be from 2 degrees Aries to 29 degrees Pisces. Then we will see Saturn retrograde on the 13th of July until November 28th, from 1 degree Aries to 25 degrees of Pisces. And then Mercury will retrograde from July 18th until August 11th, from 15 degrees to 4 degrees of Leo. You know, when that many planets are retrograding, and Pluto's retrograding as well, we're seeing a revisit of some themes. We're seeing a revisit of Neptune and Saturn's feeling of restriction, of any deceptions, of any blurry lines, unclear Piscean energies. So you could find yourself, revisiting other people's power and control over you, your money, through sex. That could be through, people these days, they send pictures of themselves, I mean, just be forewarned, because everything can be weaponized. And this is a time when people will be a little challenging. I do believe that. And with Mercury revisiting Leo, it feels, retrograding in Leo being your first house of self, the first house of pleasure, the first house of, being brave. You're going to have thoughts about who you hang out with, what you hang out with, what you do when you hang out, any children that you're in charge of, or the childlike qualities within yourself, and if they're being nurtured, and if your life is fun. Honestly, I think that's going to be very powerful. We will also see Uranus dip its toe into Gemini before Uranus retrogrades. I'm sorry, did I say in Gemini? Did I say that? Sometimes I feel all over the place. Uranus is retrograding in Gemini. That will start in July, and it will last until, not the retrograde, but okay, let me back that up. Uranus is entering Gemini for the first time in forever, 84 years. It will stay there until 2032 and 2033. It will retrograde back into Taurus a little later on in this year, but once it settles in, we're going to see a big shift, because Uranus is technology and expansion and innovation moving into the future. And Pluto has moved into Aquarius, which Uranus naturally rules. So we're going to see a huge jump in technology start. But it's probably going to start with you in your 11th house of networks. In August, Saturn will retrograde, conjunct with Neptune retrograde all month long. So they're literally just within a degree, not even 2 degrees. It's like they're so close together. This is a real, I think, a poignant time for the exposing of, and this is in Aries, by the way. So they're staying in Aries retrograde all month before they move into Pisces. This feels so much about, bringing up any repression or erosion to myself, to my being able to birth who and what I am. We could even sort of see Aries rules competition, and warriors and gladiators and football players, kind of, competitors. We could see something coming out about government and or authorities that have been deceiving us about some things within the Aries energy, also about war. We certainly know there's a lot of that going on in the world right now. Venus and Jupiter are in Cancer exact on the 11th of August at 13 degrees. This is in your 12th house. Venus in Cancer is going to be very warm and fuzzy, but being up against, when it starts its conjunction with Jupiter, it's really expansive. And while Cancer is not Venus is exalted in Pisces in the 12th house. So Venus is used to the 12th house energy. She likes Cancer in general. So this to me feels very sort of reflective in some ways, spending time alone, potentially being very creative, maybe even working on a business from home, or creating some sort of marketing, branding, writing, publishing, or even spiritual studies from home. That could be going on. We will see Mars enter Libra in its detriment. Now, this is again where Mars is constantly being tasked to recognize the ebb and the flow of me and we. So when Mars retrograded back into Cancer early in the year in your 12th house, it was having to look at how it interacted within the home, the self-nurturing, the intuitiveness of Cancer. Now, as it moves into Libra, and Libra is your third house of your teammates, your workmates, your neighborhoods, and a thinking house, how you think, you could find yourself sort of, how does my community create compromise for me? How does it interact when we move forward? When Mars is in detriment, it's in the furthest place from its home where it doesn't feel comfortable. And once again, Mars doesn't get to be about itself. It has to consider how it and that masculine energy, that assertion energy affects other people, or the lack of assertion. That could be something. Mars in detriment could be that I'm so afraid of the heat within me, especially as a Leo, you may dumb it down too much. So be mindful of that. Venus will enter Leo and start in opposition with Pluto. That is in your first house, and oppose Pluto in Aquarius, and that'll happen at the end of August. That's pretty significant because Venus rules partnerships and Pluto is in the house of partnerships. So the me and the we is really going to be in a push-pull, especially the early degree Leo energies. So anything you have in the early degrees of Leo, I'd say 0 to 5 degrees, will be affected by these transits this year, and Pluto. September, we'll see our second eclipse season with the full moon total lunar eclipse in Pisces. That'll be our first one on the North Node. This is going to really illuminate something that will bring for you personally something that has to do with 8th house matters, something that has to do with other people, their power and their control, or how other people are taking advantage of you through your money or through sex or through knowing how to push your buttons and how to make you feel less than. And that's not good for Leo, not at all. So there's a mindfulness that will be required during that eclipse. And this is a 6-month influence. So you could inadvertently go through a series of revelations and illuminations that reveal deeper levels of illusion and deception. We have a new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, which is really giving an opportunity to plant the seeds for something kind of practical in your second house matters, something that, you can dig in deep and feel good about using your skills. You may start a new health regime that makes you feel better about everything else because certain things you are powerless over. So you're always going to be powerful over your body and your attitude. We will see Saturn retrograde back into Pisces in September. We will see Uranus retrograde from 1 degree of Gemini to 27 degrees of Taurus. So it'll be the last time. It'll be in Taurus for 84 years. It's really breaking up the muck. Taurus is your 10th house. So anything within the 10th house rules your career. It rules your public status, how people see you. It rules your leadership, and how you assert leadership. So this could really be in the final degrees where you are like, look, I have to take ownership of me at this point. I can no longer acquiesce to everybody and everything. And if you think about Cancer being the 12th house, there could even potentially be issues with the female nurturer in your upbringing, that you didn't feel seen, heard, or validated to the extent you needed. And that is coming up now, and you're ready to transform that into wisdom. I don't believe in releasing. That will be what Uranus does in the last degrees of Taurus in your 10th house before it moves into your 11th house of Gemini, where your hopes and dreams have been waiting to be stoked and to be nurtured. In October, Jupiter will be in Cancer and it will trine Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Now, these two planets have been squaring each other up until now, and this is really a much more favorable energy. And inadvertently, Jupiter will also be in a loose trine with Neptune. So this is where I feel like inspired ideas could come through, whatever the challenges were, whatever maybe even the eclipses might have revealed within that month. It feels like Saturn is reviewing an old history that now becomes a tool for my intuition. Eighth house is very intuitive house. So that's exciting. Neptune also moves back into Pisces during the month of October. And Pluto goes direct in Aquarius at 1 degree. This is kind of powerful because, this is very powerful because now Pluto is settling in. Pluto's kind of comfortable. Pluto has already met up with Mars a couple times. Mercury and Venus have pretty much had their conversations, and Pluto's feeling strong. Pluto's really ready to break up the psychological chains, the prison that has been, up until now holding you back from a future that has a lot of potential and a lot of excitement, a lot of excitement. Okay, in November, Mercury will retrograde for the last time in 2025 from 6 degrees of Sagittarius to 20 degrees of Scorpio. That's taking place for most of the month from the 9th to the 29th. And this is kind of significant because I think as Mercury retrogrades from Sagittarius into Scorpio, which it hasn't done for a while, last couple of years, it's just retrograded in the Sagittarius energy. It's going to be revisiting beliefs that have me hogtied. Sagittarius is your 5th house of romance, pleasure, fun. Scorpio is your 4th house of home, hearth, nurturing, mother. So you may find that you're starting to understand the wisdom of truly self-care. Leo gets a little bit of a rap for being self-centered, and I don't think that's necessarily always true. I think it's a little bit of envy from other people who can't express themselves so freely as Leo does. So don't let people dumb you down, honestly. And that 5th house is full of love and romance, and Sagittarius is hot, hot, hot. Okay. Now we have Jupiter retrograding in your 12th house of Cancer from 25 degrees to 15 degrees. This will start November 11th, 2025 and go all the way until March 11th, 2026. So again, this is going to be revisiting your belief system, your philosophies, your ideologies, and it could even have you starting to claim your own nurturing, like, sort of being able to put whatever happened where it belongs and transforming it into a tool. Saturn will move direct in Pisces at 25 degrees, and that will be on the 28th. And then, short order, Saturn will move into Aries, and then Neptune will join, and we will be seeing some interesting things in 2026. But we'll get there then. In December, Jupiter is retrograde in Cancer and is trining Saturn for the 2nd time. And I just feel like this is a revisit of the first time. Again, there's always seems to be Saturn, one planet retrograding, giving me an opportunity to reevaluate. And here Jupiter is reevaluating. Am I allowing for my expansion? Am I holding too tight to my fears? Again, Saturn is in Pisces still. So that is your 8th house. And this is, again, sort of a revisit of other people's control over you through their resources, through their abundance, Jupiter's abundance. And we will see Neptune go direct on December 10th at 29 degrees Pisces. And Neptune will not be back into Pisces for the next 164 years. So that is a significant energy change at the end of December. And as it moves into Aries, and settles there, I really think we're going to be revisiting some of the themes of the United States Civil War in 1862, which started off with government encroaching upon the people's rights and privileges. And so I think for you, this is going to be in your individual world, how certain people have encroached upon your rights and your privileges, and you're going to claim them back. It's a very transformational time for you, Leo, as Pluto will spend till 2043. It spends 20 years. It can spend anywhere, it's going to spend 20 years in Aquarius, but it can spend anywhere from 12 to 31 years in a sign. So when Pluto enters the house of cooperation and harmony and peace, overlaid with the innovative energy and genius of Aquarius, you are being, on some level, offered a great opportunity to be a magnificent co-creator and truly the kings and queens of your own life. So trust your heart, be courageous, and just take it one step at a time. All right, my Leo friends, thank you so much. That's it for me. Be sure to look for your monthlies. I do monthlies with a little bit more detail about what's happening. This is just an overview. Come join me on Sunday mornings live where we do a tarot card reading and get the spirit's advice for traversing these transits, and look for so much more content. So like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell. And I will see you in January. Bye.